On the film. I had a chance to sit down and watch the film, and it's an absolutely fantastic film.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You know what? I've been I try not to read reviews, but I've just since I had 15 minutes, I started looking. And it's just kind of like it's a really vulnerable thing to put out a piece of art, right? Especially, I don't know, maybe now, when there's a lot of people at home and watching a lot of movies, and people are going and watching my old movies right now, and from what the distribution company's been telling me, so.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's real hard to release something. I've done it a lot of times, but it never gets any easier. Every time I release something, I just sort of wait and see what people think about it.
Yeah.
So.
How do you ignore those negatives? Because we've had a really big news story here this year where a lot of AFL footballers have decided to delete social media because they can't handle reading the negatives after a game. How do you tune out from those negatives and focus on the positives when it comes to negative reviews and things like that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I guess, I don't know, like a friend of mine the other day was telling me, hey, my friend saw the film, and she was giving like a play-by-play about it, and I was cool, and I was like, cool, all right, great. She like, without watching the whole film, she was telling my friend about, just commenting on it. This is actually like the lead actress, Tiffany, and then I asked her, so what did she think about the film? And she said, well, she had kind of mixed feelings about it, and that sort of triggered me, and I didn't realize. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like, what were those mixed feelings about specifically? So I guess like the way it starts off at the very beginning when you've made something, you show it to your friends. You're very soft and very sweet, and they'll tell you, not necessarily what you want to hear, but they'll be soft about it, if they have any criticisms, etc. Right? And then you gradually show the film to more people outside your circle, and then eventually you show it to the world, right? But before that, you show it to the columnists and the critics, and you see what they think. And I think I had 4 or 5 really good reviews, and I was like, oh my god, we got a winner. We got an overwhelming success on our hands here. I was really, it was really starting to feel that way, because you never know what you have, and then I started getting some negative ones, and then I was like, whoa, okay, I got the first one. I was like, okay, that's just one person's opinion. I got a second one, and I was like, oh well, I don't know. And then there was a day where it just got me. It just got to me. I was like, well, shoot,
Yep.
What now? Like, I failed. I'm not a good film. I thought I was a good film. So I guess all to say, the long answer to your question is it's really hard. And I have good days and bad days with it. But this time, where it's been a week since I released the film, I'm still in that. I don't know how people are reacting to it. It's mixed, but there's people that have really, really liked it, and they told me that, and they've reviewed that, and there's some people that just thought it was too soon, or thought it was too immature, or not funny enough, or had something to say about performance or whatever, So I don't know. I'm still in the midst of it, and every time I think I'm getting better at handling it, I'm just quickly reminded that every time I release something, I have to figure this out,
Yeah.
And deal with it and get over it. Anyway, go ahead.
I guess you can never please everybody. Like, I've been going to media screenings here in Australia for over 20 years now, and I'll be sitting there at the end of a film going, I really loved that film, and then one of the other critics will come up to me and go, what did you think? I hated it. And it's like, yeah, so you always get that difference between critics, because I know for us here in Australia, we've got critics ranging from like 80 years of age right through to young guys coming through at 21. So you always have that little bit of a difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, it hits everybody differently, and some people will relate to it, some people will not, and yeah, it's going to hit people differently, and I'm a little surprised when I'm really into something and a friend of mine doesn't get it, doesn't like it. I'm like, well, it's right there, it's brilliant. The Tree of Life, for instance. I love The Tree of Life. It's one of my favorite movies, but it's also it has mixed reviews, kind of. There's a lot of people that just say that one person said to me, I don't need to be reminded that I'm going to die one day, you know?
Yeah.
The tree life, which is all the tree life is about. But I love it. It speaks to me on multiple levels. So I guess that makes it a little bit, that can make somebody maybe take it a little bit less personal when somebody doesn't like their movie, you know? So I like to consider that part of it.
Yeah, I think your film has come out at a perfect time. I know the world is in various stages of lockdown at the moment. Europe's going back in. We're just coming out here. But what sparked that for you to make a movie during a pandemic? Because aside from the story, it must have been really difficult to film as well.
Yes, I was having some pandemic blues, and so around the time when I'm on lockdown in March, and of course, you know, we all were. A lot of people were getting sort of just had a lot of uncertainties, and there was this interesting feeling where like you felt like kind of the whole world was, you know, kind of going through something together, and it was this awkward sort of togetherness, you know, that you feel too. Anyway, I mean, just the state of mind was like I just. With all the uncertainties, I wanted to make something. I wanted to make a film. I happened to live in an apartment that's downtown Portland, and I called Ian, who is the lead actor and a friend of mine, and also a filmmaker who has a production company and a lot of gear like I do. And we just basically, you know, I asked him, "What do you think about this idea?" And he said, "You know, let's do it. I like it. I want to, you know." And I asked him if he wanted to act in it. We had an acting class together back in the day, and so we just basically started right there that night, and then I started putting together some passages of the screenplay, and then at some point we started trading it off, and we cast our friends, people we worked with in different movies, and we were up and rolling a month later. And so as far as state of mind, you know, it was just like I said, just the pandemic blues, and just wanting to distract myself, you know, during these times of uncertainty. And then therefore delving into this piece of art, you know, Love in Dangerous Times.
Yeah, and I understand Tiffany was a friend of yours as well.
Tiffany, I'd only known Tiffany on the periphery. I'd seen her in a play, and I forget what the name of the play, but she just was just so good and so felt things so deeply, and she's a really just an emotional and beautiful person inside and out. As I got to know her throughout the process. But I'd never, the first time I saw her in person is when we shot that scene towards the end of the film, which was our only like on location, in-person scene that we did in the film, outside of the apartment.
Yep. So from a filmmaking point of view, how did you go about shooting? Because I was supposed to be working on a project here this year, and we couldn't because the restrictions only allowed 5 people, including cast on set at any stage. So how did you go about filming this from a filmmaking point of view?
Right. So a lot of those guidelines hadn't been instilled yet. So there was a lot of questions about how to go about making this film in the safest way possible. I know SAG had rules about no more than 5 people on set or something like that. I think it was SAG, but I mean that's about it. And this is back in, I think, April, about mid-April is when we started filming. So we just, you know, we had written the story to take place only in a few locations, no more than 2 actors in a scene. We only had a 2-person crew. So it was myself as a director of photography and director, and then Steve Avalon Gardner was kind of, we call him crew. Yep. And so he did everything, right? Just anything you could imagine, you know, gripping gaff and a little bit of, you know, PA, you know, scheduling. He was UPM. He was AD, everything, right? And so there was at one point we had 4 people in a room. We quarantined, right, for about 2 weeks before we started shooting. We were very open about like where we'd been, who we hung out with. At that time, there wasn't testing available, so we just had to quarantine ourselves. And during the course of those 22 days, we didn't see anybody but one another. And so that's how we stayed safe. We had a sanitizer station at all times. I gave everybody gloves, and we had masks from a sister production company in the Flickr films out of Portland. So we did our best to maintain a safe environment in regards to like outside of the apartment, because most of the filming was done in the apartment. We'd go out into the city. We were just at that point in time, I don't know, like I think we just thought we had to wear masks everywhere. I think there was, do you remember that? There was like that time period. So we always had masks on and gloves on. We filmed during that 3 week period when there was nobody on the streets in Portland. So we got a lot of shots of just like this area of Portland completely empty, and it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see. So altogether, I mean, it wasn't any harder. It was almost because we didn't have that many options.
Yeah.
It's somewhat simplified everything and made it in some ways kind of easier to film at times. And actually, I prefer like the very intimate environment anyway when I'm filmmaking. I did the same thing with my debut movie, The Falls.
I was going to ask that. It does seem a lot simpler. Will that change the way you make movies in the future, do you think?
It might. I mean, I want, I've made 10 features now, and I want to move to the next level, whatever that is, and whatever that means for the time period that we're in now, right? So I want to work with bigger budgets, and I want to work and with the people who have a lot of experience and been doing what they do for a long time. And so I think, I mean, if there's a way I can keep moving up and making just each film getting better than the next, and still keep that sensitive sort of intimate environment, then yes, but I guess there's just a lot of unknowns right now about the state of the industry, right? I mean, even though people are starting to film again, right?
Yeah.
But the independents maybe less so.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. Have you already started on your next project, and when do you look like filming? Because a week ago here, we would have said that filming might not have happened until next year. Now, all of a sudden, we've got Liam Neeson, Tom Hanks, and The Rock flying into town for film. So it's moved along very, very quickly, very, very fast.
That's cool. That's interesting. I for my next film, I've got several ideas I'm thinking about. There's an MMA movie I've been working on for years, and I'm hoping it's called Pass the Guard, and I'm hoping that's my next film. I'm a huge fan of the UFC and Bellator and all things MMA, so I've been working on this thing for a few years. There's that, and there's also a Sasquatch project I've been working on with some friends. That's like in the development stages, but yeah, I'm thinking about what's next. I was talking to the guys over at Film Threat, and he had said we should make another pandemic movie, and I was like, well, maybe I should.
Yeah.
maybe I should make another super lo-fi, low budget pandemic film. Too. You're a filmmaker too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, we want to be shooting all the time, right? Even if it's like our friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to do things all the time. So I don't know. I mean, if I find it hard to make films where I can get investment nowadays, I guess I have to make it out of pocket to keep creating, right?
Yeah,
as
definitely. Yeah. It's the same here. And one of the things I've noticed is a lot of filmmakers have been going out at the moment and getting lots of shots of Melbourne completely empty. I think everybody's going to have all these post-apocalyptic movies coming out where the city is absolutely empty, because I had a mate go out with a drone and he got this amazing footage of our city, just no cars, no people, and you would never be able to get those shots normally in 100 years.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, right? To see how many films like, about this situation come out, right? And I guess we felt a little bit of pressure to be one of the first, right? And we felt that, and there's no denying that. And some of the reviews have said, okay, this is too soon, way too soon, and that's been some of the criticism. And some of the one guy said, you shouldn't grade a movie on a curve, but I'm going to do this for this movie because it was made. The circumstances in which it was made were very limiting, and so hats off to these people. So I mean, yeah, to be one of the first, that's great and all, but we were going for something that pulled at the heartstrings, and also kind of realizing that there was a lot of unknowns and a lot of sort of, a lot of people I knew had kind of a meek outlook on things at that time.
Yep.
So we wanted the film to feel like a positive, right? To have some of that negative, some of those realities that people were thinking and pondering during those times, but also a feel goodness about it. So I think that we achieved that. What did you think? I'm curious.
I thought it was perfect. I thought it was the perfect film coming out at the moment. I think this has been a time period that has confused a lot of people. Like, even now for us, we're getting out of lockdown for the first time in 7 months, and I thought it would be party town. I thought everybody would be going out and celebrating, but it actually seems like it's become a time for reflection. And we only lost 800 people, which in the scheme of things for other countries is so small. But yeah, it's become a time for reflection. And I think a lot of people are actually searching for films and searching for music that sums up what the pandemic has meant for them. So I think it's come out at a perfect time.
Thank you for saying that. I hope so. And my worst fear is that people are going to consider us people that are exploiting the thoughts, fears, and dreams of people of this time, which we weren't and aren't, doing. I think this was our way of coping with the pandemic, was to make something about it, and that's just like my last movie, Sex Weather, was about a breakup I had. And I just had to get that thing out,
Yeah.
for better, for worse, and it helped me process it,
Yeah.
I mean, do you find that as a filmmaker? Like, do you find yourself making things to help you process parts of your, phases of your life?
Oh, definitely, all the time. In fact, my latest project is actually a web series set when me and my friend that I make films with were at film school. And we're going back and exploring all of the stuff that we were going through emotionally when we were at film school and stuff like that. And it's actually turned into a real kind of a process where I've dealt with a lot of stuff that I've realized at that time I hadn't dealt with, because I went through some pretty big emotional things during that time. And I think it's actually been a really big help to go back and over a decade later and explore those themes and put them down on paper.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. Writing about that period in time. It also sounds like fun. It would be fun to go back to film school.
Yeah,
wouldn't it? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I guess with disasters, there's always been that thing about how soon is too soon. Like I remember when September 11 happened and they started to bring out movies like Ladder 49 and stuff like that. People were saying it was too soon, and that was a couple of years after. So yeah, I don't believe that at all. I think that as long as a movie is made tastefully about something like that, it is fine to make a movie whenever.
Exactly. I think so. I agree with you, and I think our quest to be first, or to try to be first, was just to get eyes on you create something, and there's a flood of other beautiful films coming out at the time, and how do you get eyes on this piece of work that you've created, right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like we wanted to put a rush on it, just try to get some eyes on this piece of work that we created, But I mean, there's been a couple of other, Love in the Time of Corona. It looks good. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks good. I know that there was an elevator based pandemic movie that came out, and I forget where it came out. And I know that Michael Bay has one in post or something, but I'm sure there's more coming out, right?
Yeah,
you probably have heard of it.
We've got a horror thriller coming out here in Australia that a group of guys made in one apartment up in Sydney, which is supposed to be something about they're trapped because of the pandemic and there's a serial killer in their apartment building or something. That's supposed to come out.
That's awesome.
Pretty soon as well. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, mate,
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to finish up, what would you like to say to people out there before they sit down and watch the film?
I'd like to say, We created this film, like I said earlier. We created this film to put out something that had a positive message. That love is the most important thing, and during tough times like this, and that's what this film serves. And it goes through not just romantic love, but love between a sibling, a parent, a friend, and it's a feel good movie, and if you want to watch something that is about these times that we're living in with a positive spin, give us a shot and watch Love in Dangerous Times. I guess that's it.
Definitely. Well, mate, it's been an absolute honor chatting to you, and I hope I get to chat to you and again in the future with your future projects as well, because I'd love to check them out.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and good luck on the film school project. That sounds like a lot of fun. So keep me informed about that too.
I will do. I'll send you through a link when it's all done.
Cool.
Awesome, mate. I'll let you go. Have a great night, and I'm sure we'll talk again in the future.
Sounds good, bud. Thank you, man.
All right, mate. Talk soon. Bye.